Hello everyone and welcome back to another science lesson. Today you are going to learn to recognise that vibrations from sound travel through a medium into our ears. Our review then is last week's lesson on how sounds are made. Now, the quick recap: sound is made when objects vibrate, and the vibrations make the air around the object vibrate, and the air vibrations travel into our ears. So if you can't remember, just look back at last week's video to aid your memory, and we looked at sound waves and how vibrations travel, and that's how we hear sounds. So sounds need something called a medium to travel. Now, I've included a link to a really good video. Unfortunately, I can't play that and record a lesson, so if you want to watch this video, I've included it below on the worksheet that I'm going to also send through to you. It is a really nice little video and it does explain it quite well. But the important thing to remember: sounds reach our ears by travelling through something called a medium. Okay, so a medium is just a way that sounds can travel through. It's something that sounds can travel through. These include gases, like air, liquids, things like water, and solids, so for example, something like a wall. Quick prediction then. Don't have to put your hands up, of course, because you're not in class anymore. Which medium, okay, with gases, liquids, and solids, the thing that things travel through, sounds travel through, do you think sounds travel through quickest? Okay, so as you're doing this, maybe you could write quickly a quick hypothesis. I predict that sounds might travel through, well, have a think, look at the different mediums. I wonder which one you think it might travel through quickest, and maybe explain why. Okay, as soon as you've done that, sounds pass more quickly through liquids and solids. So here are liquids and solids. These are the molecules, the things that make them up, okay? This is what everything is built up of, molecules. So with solids, you can see it's really tightly packed. Liquids is tightly packed, okay, but there are some gaps in between it. So let's see what it says. Sounds travel more quickly in liquids because the molecules are more tightly packed than they are in air. Okay, so in air, hasn't shown it sadly, but the gaps between these particles are enormous. They're much, much bigger. And faster still in solids because the molecules are even more tightly packed. So when the sounds spread, okay, it's easier because everything's tightly packed, okay? The molecules are here, so everything can get bounced off quicker in solids than liquids. But in air, okay, these are further apart, okay, so it takes longer for them to bounce off and pass to our ears. In air, the molecules are far more spread out, making it harder for sound waves to travel quickly. Okay, now we're going to move on here to looking at the human ear. How sound reaches our ears. When air molecules inside the ear vibrate, they shake tiny hairs on the inside of the ears. So we actually have hairs all the way down our ears. The hairs are connected to nerves underneath the skin. Okay, and all that nerves do is they send information to our brains. Okay, so the hairs are connected to nerves under the skin. Okay, and that then communicates, basically talk to the brain. It's a bit like a computer talking to a brain. So these nerves send messages to your brain to tell you that you heard a noise. And of course, that's kind of then translated, a little bit like Google Translator. You've heard a noise and your brain understands what noise you heard. So here it is, how our ears work. When a sound wave reaches our ear, our outer ear, which is the little wiggly bit that we have on the outside of our heads, funnels the sound into our heads down the ear canal. Okay, so that's that hole. At the end of the the canal is the ear drum, which is waterproof and airtight. Past the ear canal is the middle ear. Okay, so all this lovely stuff's in here. Inside the middle ear are the hammer, anvil, and stirrup, the three smallest bones in the body. Okay, so that's a nice little interesting fact you've learnt there. So the three smallest bones in your body can be found in the ear: the hammer, anvil, and stirrup, which vibrate and pass the sound waves down to the inner ear, which contains the cochlea, which turns the vibrations into electrical signals. These signals travel down the auditory nerve. Okay, so it's just a little, almost like a little road. Okay, it's a nerve, it's just a pathway that sends electrical signals down to the brain, which experiences the signal as sound. Loads of information there, don't worry. If it's a lot to kind of take in all at once, that's all okay. But let's think about the main points. Sound reaches our ears, okay, and our outer ear funnels the sound down into the ear canal. At the bottom of the canal is the eardrum. okay, which is waterproof and airtight, so we can't get nasty things in there. Past the ear canal is the middle ear, so that's where all of this juicy stuff is, where we find the three smallest bones, hammer, anvil, stirrup, okay, which vibrate and pass down the sound waves to the inner ear and to the cochlear. And as we said before, this is where we see all the nerves, which sends information for the brain to then understand what we are listening to. Okay, so if at all you need to pause this, or when you do your stretch it, solve it, and all of those lovely things with your science, if you need to come back to this, that's absolutely fine. You will also find information on this on BBC Bitesize if you also want it broken down for you. So we're going to go and look at the sheet that you'll be looking at in today's lesson. Okay, so here is the insert we would be putting in our books in school. Same learning objective here. Now I'll do it. Explain in full sentences, so not one word, full sentences, what a medium is. So you might want to go back to the video to remember if you can't quite remember what the medium is. Okay, stretch it. Do sound waves travel quicker through liquids, solids or gases? And you might want to draw pictures to help you. So maybe draw pictures of the molecules that you remember seeing. Solve it. Draw a diagram of the human ear. Okay, one you've just seen. Explain how the sounds travel to the brain. And then a challenge. Okay, this is one for you to really think about, maybe do a bit of Googling. Why do you think the outer ear, okay, so the thing that you can see and feel on your head, is shaped the way it is? Okay, have a think. Why do you think it is shaped the way it is? Okay, why have we been adapted as humans to look that way? And how does that help us hear things? Okay, that is everything for today's lesson, girls and boys. I hope that all makes sense. Again, if you need to watch the video a few times, I completely understand, because it's a lot of information. And if you were in school, you'll be able to do a bit more practical bits and pieces, but that's all okay. So give this your best shot. Okay, lovely, neat work. Full sentences as always in science. And I look forward to seeing all of your work. Thank you very much for joining me.